So I thought this video would be a fun little idea. There's a lot of different types of testosterone maxes, but in my experience and having worked with all the clients that I've worked with over the years, guys who've gotten to 800 in their 30s, well, 1,000 in their 30s, 800 in their 40s, 700 in their 50s. There's a few different types of testosterone, guys, and it's useful for you guys if you can kind of relate to one of these types and put yourself into one of these boxes, because I've noticed some trends. So, and I'm going to give you some tips on like what to do if you do fall into one of these. So the first type of testosterone maxer is the trader in Dubai. Not necessarily Dubai, but a lot of them do go to the Middle East. Some guys have been traders in Florida. There was one in London. There was one in Nevada. There was one in Malta. Portuguese guy in Malta. If you're watching this, you know who you are. Traders are interesting because they're on their screens all the time, at least day traders. If you're swing trading, that's different. There's a lot of screen time, and no matter where in the world these guys are, including in Dubai, these guys seem to be at risk for vitamin D deficiency. This is a huge problem. If you've watched the 4 fundamentals videos that I've done, vitamin D3 is one of those key fundamentals. It's kind of like cholesterol. You need vitamin D to synthesize testosterone. It's difficult when it's cloudy all the time. Like I'm in Tatton Park in Knutsford in the UK at the moment. It's always cloudy, but you've got to do what you can. Some of you guys live in sunnier places than I do. You've got it easy. Supplements with a spray, that kind of thing, obviously very helpful. So do what you can. If you're a trader, go for some kind of morning walks. I know you're addicted to your screens. I am a little bit as well, but going for a walk like this first thing in the morning, huge hack. So yeah, that would be my advice. Vitamin D3 and just getting more activity in, more movement in general. Get a standing desk, things like that. So there's the trading guys. Another very, very common one, and this is usually slightly older guys, but not necessarily, is like the successful father figure. So or the family man, we could call it. So you've got kids. Usually the guy is self-employed, not always, or if he's not self-employed, then he'll be higher up in some company with a good job. Spends a lot of time. He doesn't have much free time, so you have to meal prep, because if you don't, everything's going to fall apart. There's going to be some kind of meal. There's going to be poor decisions made during the day, especially. Workouts need to be very, very quick and efficient. I have a new program coming actually inside of the Testosterone Squad, which is called the Testosterone Time Efficiency Program. It's specifically for guys who don't have much time. Training 3 days a week, mostly body weight. You can do it at home, so that's another big one. Just keeping an eye on these deer, which apparently are quite aggressive at this time of year, so being stalked by animals here. But that's what I would suggest. And then yeah, meal prep. You've got to meal prep twice a week. Is usually what I recommend. Sundays and Wednesdays. You can't really go wrong there. Meal prepping some good quality meals. If your wife can do it, that would save some time. But yeah, these guys are usually in their 40s, from the calls I've had. Usually self-employed, not always. And then if you are in your 40s, then things like Shilajit, pine pollen, keeping the inflammation low, and doing all this stuff on being as time efficient as humanly possible is very important. The third one is the younger go-getter guy, usually in his 20s, late 20s. I've had a lot of guys from Instagram who are in London who fall into this category. They usually have 2 jobs, or a job and a side hustle, or a job and a business. They work very, very long hours. Sleep deprivation is very, very common. Alcohol on the weekends is very common. And doing whatever you can, like obviously working longer hours I think is a fantastic thing when you're in your 20s. I'm about to end my 20s. I'm about to go into the 30s mark, and I'm doing that. I'm working longer hours. I mean, technically this is work, very, very fun work, very easy work. But I think it's a great thing as long as it doesn't get in the way of your sleep. So things like red light therapy in the mornings, things like blue light blockers in the evenings, magnesium, GABA, deep breathing, meditation, all those things are going to be very important for maintaining good sleep. Sleep is just fundamental, guys. Also, not overdoing the alcohol. I get it, wine's very tasty. Definitely avoid the beer. There's no need to drink beer. And in the UK, it's such a common thing. It's such a big social drink. But do what you can to minimize it, or just drink something different. Drink slower. This is where wine's better. No one drinks 10 glasses of red wine. Whereas it's not difficult to drink 10 pints of beer if you're on a typical Saturday night in the UK. Yeah, if you're a younger guy, you'll probably want to relax or release a little bit on the weekends. Just try and do it in a better, less destructive way. So that's the third category of test maxes. The fourth one, and this one is growing. This is huge now. And I think, although they mean well, guys like More Plates, More Dates, and some of these big YouTubers have influenced this growing trend, and it's TRT guys who want to come off TRT, and they end up in my DMs and they're like, yeah, I made a huge mistake. I should have stayed natural. The testosterone doesn't seem to be making me feel better. I'm sleeping worse. I am more bloated. My you-know-whats have shriveled up. And I don't like it. I think it was a mistake. I regret it. Can you help me come off and become natural? And usually these guys understand that it's going to be a little bit of a process. It's going to be easier if you have access to HCG. Maybe Clomid. It depends. I'm not a huge fan of Clomid. And to anyone else watching this, just don't go on TRT in the first place. You'll save yourself. It's a real hassle trying to come off. If you're going to go on it, I think you should be 60 plus. You're like quite an old dude who you're going to struggle no matter what you do. But you've got to be on it for the rest of your life. It's a lifetime commitment. I just think people hop on it thinking it's going to be an easy path to more muscle, better bedroom stuff, and more energy. And whenever you're chasing some kind of short-term fix, there's almost always a consequence for that, because that's not how life works. You know, doing the work almost always pays. Chasing shortcuts almost always punishes. So yeah, that's that. Just avoid it. There's a ton of natural things I promise you're not doing that would be a good idea if you were to start doing them. So check out my blog, my websites, and ebooks and programs if you want more detail on that. And then the fifth category of test maxes, which one was this? Let me have a think. Yes, the fifth category was the older guy category. So definitely over 40, usually mid to late 40s, sometimes 50s. And there are some, pretty badass guys in their 50s who are in the 700s with strong free testosterone as well. because a real risk of getting older is higher estradiol and also lower conversion into free testosterone, higher SHBG. Everything gets harder as you get older, but if you do everything wrong, it gets much harder. If you do everything right, the decline is much slower, or barely, more or less non-existent. So some of these guys are doing everything right. They're eating lots of red meat, lots of hard training, regular training. Some things they're not doing, things like shilajit, all the anti-inflammatories, so shilajit, saffron, pine pollen, a high dose omega-3, guys. This is a good health practice in general. Omega-3 that is very high in EPA content, EPA and DHA. That's a great anti-inflammatory that I think most people need more of, but especially older men. So there's that stuff that a lot of these guys could improve on. What else is there? They're the main things. Making sure that they're taking enough time off, because the guys who are high testosterone tend to have their training more or less sorted. They might be in danger of doing too much training. The cortisol gets too high, which then gets in the way of testosterone. So you want to make sure you're having at least minimum 2 days off. That dog is going to attack the reindeer. The deer. Does it have a death wish? But yeah, taking some days off is extremely important, and anything that's going to reduce cortisol. So magnesium, again, is a big one. B6, anything that's going to improve the sleep. Big deal for older guys. Also, some other things to think of are vitamin C and NAC for further antioxidants, reducing inflammation, that kind of thing. There's definitely more to it than this. I can't go into a huge long list of everything that every single type of testosterone maxer needs to do, because that would take me all day, and I guess that's what consulting is reserved for. Another important point before I finish the video, this is kind of true for every guy, every person watching this, but it's especially true as you get older. When I'm 40 plus, I will be following this advice. I already am following this advice in terms of I'm getting into raw milk, I'm going to the butchers more, but I'll be taking this really seriously as I get older. And it's that the quality of everything you eat becomes more and more important, because you can't afford to take any risks. So wild caught fish, fish from the fishmongers, butchers, the highest quality meat, and raw milk from local farms, that sort of thing, instead of the typical supermarket stuff. And this isn't like an elitist, superiority thing. It's literally just a health thing and nutrient density and a lack of potential mercury, pesticides and problems and things like that. So food quality is important, especially as you age. I do have more detail on this in this video, which was one of the most recent ones I've done. Definitely check that out. It's one of the most foundational things in terms of getting all your vitamins and making sure there's no holes in your diet. So the better your diet is, the less supplements you need. And plus the food often just tastes better. So check out that video. You'll find it useful, especially if you're in your 40s and 50s. And I will see you in there.